Hey, welcome to the video. So in the previous video I did some stuff, and now in this video I'm gonna do some different stuff. And that's it. Now first of all, let's review what we did in the previous video. So in the previous video we made 4 different power-ups. There they are. So we got this guy right here, and this, then finally this. Now on this video I'm gonna try creating some more power-ups. Maybe try making some more complex ones, because I feel like all 4 of these are pretty simple. But anyway, I have my notes here with me. I have some concept art. It's just some stuff I made on Paint, but let me check real quick. Gotcha. Alright. So the first power up I'm gonna do in this video is gonna enable our player object to be able to phase through enemy projectiles. So we have this, hold on. So we have this power up right here, right? When our player touches this, it will do 3 things. First, our player will be able to move at a faster speed. Second, while the power up is active, our player won't be able to shoot. And thirdly, while the power up is active, our player will be able to phase through enemy bullets. So let's see how we can do that. Save this. I think we can do that by editing the player stack, the player object stack. So for example, by default, our player object stack can be something like player, as simple as that. But while the power up is active, our tag can be changed to player invisible. And then when the power up is inactive, when the duration runs out, then we switch back to the default player tag. So let's try doing that. But first I need the object back. There. So we have this right here. This is gonna be our phase mode power up prefab. I want a good sprite for this though. So going to our sprites folder, power ups. Now what can be a good sprite for this? Maybe this, I guess. Sure. I don't really know what this is, but what shape this is, but it's okay. So we're gonna change this. There we go. How does this look? That's fine. Prefabs, power ups. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Now to create the code for what happens when our player object touches the phase mode power up. So to do that, to code that, we'll get into our player behavior script. There they are. Asif, other game object, name starts with, let's copy this. Ooh. Let's copy this real quick. Now our function for our phase mode power up is gonna be a coroutine, because it is time based, just like our bullet time and rapid shot coroutines. So we're gonna create a third power up. Actually, not a third, fourth power up. Now, I said earlier that our phase mode power up is gonna work with our player objects tag. So while the phase mode power up is active, our player object will have one tag, and when its duration runs out, it's gonna revert to another tag. So for that to work, we need to first create those two tags. We already have some tags set up for our projectile types. In addition to that, we will now create two new tags for our player object. So the first is going to be player. Did that work? Oh. The first should be player. Invincible, is that a word? Yeah, it is. Okay, so player invincible, then player invisible. Alright. Going to our scripts. We want to make so when the game starts, our player objects tag is set to player invincible. Because right now our player objects tag is set to untagged. It doesn't have a tag. So what is this? Oh. Anyway. So game object tag player invincible. Now in the phase mode coroutine, we're gonna first change our tag. So we'll write game object tag player invincible. Then waiting to 5 seconds. We'll then change our tag back to its original value, player invincible. Now in here on trigger enter method, we have a section here that explains what happens when our player object touches with an enemy bullet. So we're going to create another if statement for this. We'll do if game object tag equals to player invincible. Then we're going to put all of this into this if statement. Let's see how this is gonna work. Forget about that. Alright, that's good. But alright. Now the phasing through enemy bullets part works. That's great. But I also said earlier that when the phase mode power up is active, I don't want my player to be able to shoot bullets. So for that, so we'll check that with another variable. We're going to create a new variable here. Private bool is phase mode. Actually, we can call it is player invincible. So at start, this is gonna be false. Now, to check or is player invisible variable, I think all we need to do is add an add statement to this if statement. So we'll write is player invisible false. There. Now after 5 seconds our player character will be able to, there it is. Okay, that's all. That's all for this phase mode power up. So we'll delete this. Actually, we also need to add this to our power up manager. So let's do that real quick. Public game object. Phase mode power up. Now onto our next power up. Let's create the object for this power up first. We can call this something like Berserk power up. So here's the logic, here's what I want. When our player touches this power up, I want the player to be able to be, hold on, let me say that again. So when our player object touches this power up, I want the player object to be able to enter a mode where they take more damage, but they also deal more damage. So pretty much high risk, high reward. Now to find a new sprite for this. Actually, do I have a school? Hold on. Oh, damn. There's just pick all of this. There. So sprites and single. I feel like it's only natural for a power up named Berserk to have a school as its icon, so I wonder which one fits. Let's try this one. Okay. Original prefab there. I also need to change these though. Now let's do the coding for this Berserk power up. another coroutine. For this to function, we need yet another bool variable. Pilot bool is berserk active false. So the same thing as our phase mode coroutine, but we don't need to change the player objects tag. So we'll just write is berserk active true. Then wait for 5 seconds. Then change it back to false. Now to check if our berserk mode is active, we're going to create yet another if statement in this onTrigger enter, a third one. So in here we're going to write is if is berserk active true, and then else if what happened? What? Okay. So we're gonna put this here. And if our is berserk active is true, then we're gonna do the same, but instead of changing the health bar scale by 1 unit, we change it by 2 units. Then while this is active, we also want our bullets or player bullets to be more powerful to deal more damage. So to do that, we'll create an if statement, another if statement here. So if is berserk active true, and as if is berserk active false. The default line needs to go here, and if it's true, then instead of giving our bullets the tag of player bullets, we'll give them the tag of player bullets empowered. We also need to create that tag in our editor. Now to make so these empowered player bullets deal more damage, we need to pay a visit to the enemy behavior script. Going to our onTrigger enter method. If other game object tag player bullets. I think we're gonna need to do the same, but instead of player bullets, we're gonna do player bullets empowered. So copying and pasting the entire thing. Else if bullet empowered when this happens, we're gonna scale our enemy health bar by 2 units, just like we did in the player behavior script. Hold on. So it's at 35 now. Let me actually check real quick. Okay, it's working properly. Now it's at 32. What? What the fuck was that? Hold on. Oh, I think I touched an homing. Wait, what? What was that? Oh, that's a bug. That's not expected. What was that? Hold on. What? Oh, it's a naming issue. Then we need to change the name of the projectile. How about projectile homing missile? There, that's better. Just to check if this still works. Okay, it does. That deals a lot of damage. But okay, so we got two power-ups done right now. We're gonna move on to the next one. Alright, now I want my next power-up to be able to delete all of the enemy projectiles in the scene. So when our player object touches the power-up object, then our script will check for every single enemy bullet and, or I should say enemy projectile, keep it broad, and then delete all of them to give the player some breathing room. So what should we call this power up? How about clean screen power up? Yeah, that's fine. So going to our sprites, what sprite would fit this? Not a star, no. Let's go with art. Actually, let's go with a gem. There. Now this power up is gonna be a little bit complicated. Not that the concept is hard, it's actually really easy, but my scripts are pretty much spaghetti code, they are noodle code. So I need to be careful not to mess things up. Anyway, with that being said, let's go to what our clean screen power up does. Another massive. We don't need a coroutine for this one, we just need a function. Clean screen. Now for clean screen variable, not variable, for clean screen function to work, we need a new variable, and our new variable needs to be an array variable. So private game objects, make it an array, enemy projectiles. Now, what was the code? What was the function? Finds objects. No. No. How about game object finds there. Find game objects with tag. So what's our enemy bullets tag? Enemy bullet. Then enemy projectiles. That's it does work like that. Alright. How about for int e? Projectiles. No, not like that. There. Okay, good. Now let's put it here. Other game object name starts with. Oh wait, jeez, we don't have it here. There. Let's see. Awesome. It works. That's really cool. But now here's the complicated part. Now we did this with the basic enemy bullets, but throughout our game, our enemies can shoot two other different types of bullets. So the first one is gonna be the short range, and another is gonna be the heavy the heavy bullets. So we need to check and delete these as well. Now let's see what the tag for these short range bullets are. Going to the relevant scripts. Enemy short bullets. Pick that up. Then after we're done with this, we're gonna set another value to our enemy projectiles. Game objects, find game objects with tag. Now we need to do the same for heavy bullets. So enemy nuke there. We're gonna grab that tag. Find game objects with tag. Awesome. Now we can do the same for our walls as well, because one of our levels involves walls. Well, which one was it? Was it 5? No, that's with turrets. Not there, level 4. Enemy obstacle. There it is. We're gonna get this tag too. And that's it for our clean screen power up. We finished yet another power up. Now on to the next one. Now, in our next power up, I want to implement some sort of a lifesteal system. So let's pretend this is our new power up, or lifesteal power up. When our player touches this, for 5 seconds, our player boosts are gonna have a different name, a different tag. And if our enemy object is hit by these bullets, then while the enemy health bar decreases, our player health bar will increase, so stealing life from the enemy. With that said, let's create an object for this. Lifesteal power. This looks pretty cool. Okay. Now we're going back to our player behavior script. We can create another coroutine for a lifesteal, because we want this power up to be based on a timer. Now another bool variable. Private bool is lifesteal active false. Alright, we got this. Creating an if statement here. We'll write if is lifesteal active true. Player boots game object tag. So player boots lifesteal. Then if not, we just assign the default value, default tag. How about this? Since we have two bool variables that change the tag of our bullets, let's do something like this. Instead of this statement right here, we're gonna replace this with else if is still active, true. Then we're going to create a third if statement that checks if both of these are true. So is berserk active, true, and is life active, is life still active, true. Then in this statement, in this scenario, we need to change the tag to something that can allow us to stack the two power-ups together. So player bullets, game object tag, stacked, and then else. This is the default scenario. So this is variable right player bullets, game object tag, just player bullet. The default tag. Now let's write what happens in trigger events involving this and this tag. Let's save this and go back to our enemy behavior script. Oh man, this script is getting so long, but anyway. So we have a scenario for our player bullet empowered. Now we're gonna create one for our player bullets lifesteal. I also need to create tags for these two in the editor. I shouldn't forget about that. Now, in order to implement this lifesteal system, we need to make so our enemy behavior has access to both the enemy health bar and the player health bar, so that our enemy behavior scripts can influence the player health bar. So next to this, we're going to create a second health bar variable, player health bar. Player health bar transform scale. There, perfect. Yeah, that's it. Now we're going to do an event for our player bullet stacked tag, which just combines the effect of our empowered bullets and our lifesteal bullets. Actually, in this mode we can increase the lifesteal too. That would be pretty cool. Okay, I think that's it. we just need to add these two tags in the editor. So let's do just that. I'll copy this. Then I'll copy this. There. Alright, that's done. Now, what kind of power-ups can we do next? Let me check. Actually, I thought this video will be more complicated, but I guess not. So we got 8 power-ups right here. I think I'll leave it as that. Turns out this video's power-ups are not as complicated as I thought. Alright then, we're done with this video. I'll see you guys later.